Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Bradley Mayer joins us. He's a partner with Argentum Partners. Here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
It's the most wonderful time to win during the $125,000 Holiday Cash Frenzy at Tamarack Casino. Every Saturday, unwrap thousands in cash and free play. Don't miss the grand finale December 27th. We're gifting $20,000 in cash guaranteed. 'Tis the season for good times at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted to welcome to the program Bradley Mayer. He is partner with Argentum Partners. Pleasure to have you on the program, sir.
Thanks, Sam. It's my maiden voyage on your program. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, thank you. We're glad to have you. Lots to talk about, obviously. To give us some perspective here, Becky Harris running for Clark County Commission as an independent. She started out as a Democrat, became a Republican, which would be the Ronald Reagan path, and now as a nonpartisan. What does this say to you about the potential reality of the nonpartisan vote and its size?
Well, this is fascinating. I actually live in this commission district, and Becky Harris used to knock on my door actually when I was chasing my kids around, when she was canvassing, when she was running for office back in the day. So I think the story in Nevada, Sam, is the rise of the independent voter. We know that automatic voter registration was enacted in 2018. I think people have been surprised at just the volume of nonpartisan registration. And so you now have a situation where, my background is in political campaigns, as you know, and so I do a lot of city council, county commission, mayor's races in Southern Nevada, and those are always open primaries, quote unquote. Everybody, regardless of party, appears on the same ballot in those races. And so I have a long history of working in those. And, there was a proposal in the legislature last year to enact an open primary. But I think what this speaks to is the fact that now somebody like Becky Harris is coming into a partisan race, running as an independent, with her background, really fascinating, and also underscores the importance of what these nonpartisans are and that they're here. In election day, in 2022 election day in Clark County, at some point during the day, like 42% of the election day turnout were registered independent voters who had actually shown up, many of them young. They're here, and they're a factor now.
These county commission races always draw big money, very large money, $1 million plus money. And it's interesting with Becky Harris's career as the first female chair of the Gaming Control Board. She has
a very good relationship, I am sure, with a lot of people in those offices on the Las Vegas Strip. How do you think this will fare in terms of her being able to raise money? Because she's going to have to raise a lot.
Yeah, and you know, this race is shaping up to be very interesting because you, of course, have a Republican primary happening between Heidi Kasama and Albert Mack. That you know, the Democratic primary will, you know, I think be shaping up soon, and so you have a lot of sort of strong candidates already in the mix here. And it costs. I mean, in my career, typically county commission races typically would cost about $1 million in the primary. However, many of those races were the types that, you know, there was so the registration gap was to the point where, you know, the primary was essentially the general. This district actually does not have that dynamic. It is a very even split between Republicans and Democrats now in this district. And so both of the parties on either side are going to need to run their primary election. However, uh, she just advances straight to the general. Doesn't have to actually run in a primary, which is also an interesting dynamic here. And of course, then the question for the candidates in that race is who does she take from? Because you know, the truth is independent voters all have a ideology, not a party. They're either conservative, moderate, liberal, and they're willing to be ticket splitters and they're gotten through issues. So appealing to them on those points is how that's part of the math of winning an election in this regard. And so, you know, I don't know what the percentage is. Typically, a sort of quote unquote minor party candidate presence in a race is something like 4 to 7% on the high end that they just grab of the vote just for being there. Certainly, her ceiling is likely much higher, given the things that you mentioned, and the question really becomes, what's the fundraising base like there?
She's also a fiscal conservative, you know, based on all the material I've read about her and her time at the legislature. She's also a formidable questioner. So if she does get on the
Right.
commission, she'll be very interesting to watch. But, you know, for years, we looked at the Clark County Commission as an all-Democratic commission, despite the fact there are business-friendly Democrats on that commission. With April Becker on there, the first Republican on there, and the potential to have Becky Harris on there, along with Jim Gibson and Marilyn Kirkpatrick, you could see a real change. And I don't mean in a negative way, but a real change on that county commission.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think, since 2006 that there hadn't been a Democrat, or excuse me, a Republican, once Lynette Boggs McDonald had left. I was actually involved in that race that she to replace her back then. That's how long I guess I've been doing this. And so now, you know, you do have that dynamic, especially on the western side of the Las Vegas Valley, where both of these districts are situated. But I think what's also interesting is I kind of have this joke, you know, streetlights and potholes aren't partisan, right?
Right.
There isn't a ton of issues on the county commission that come down on very partisan lines. Yes, there's labor interests, and the thing that's unique about the county commission is, of course, it, you know, has oversight of the hospital, the airport. You know, people from out of town are always surprised to hear that the mayor of Las Vegas doesn't have jurisdiction over the strip. It's the county commission. And so a lot of the big issues play out there. And, you know, I think that this will be a very fascinating race to watch play out.
You brought up Lynette Boggs McDonald. If you go on our archive on our website, NevadaNewsmakers.com, you will find my interview with her with the whole "where does she live" situation back in those days.
I was there. I was there.
One of the things I just talked to Becky Harris for a show that's going to air here, and I brought up the fact that if she were to be elected, she would be part of a discussion, a major part of a discussion on Ivanpah and the new airport going down there. And, you know, this is going to be a fascinating thing because you've got people like Tig Segelblum, who, although he can be very pro-business, I think the majority of the time, has great concerns about the growth going down the 15. But with 6,000 acres at the airport and 17,000 for the surrounding area for that airport, there's going to be massive growth. It's the biggest economic development thing that Clark County or the state has ever seen.
Well, and look, planes landing at the airport are the lifeblood of Las Vegas. And I think something like some huge portion, 40 something percent of the state general fund revenue comes from activity generated on the Las Vegas Strip. So that this becomes a statewide issue in the regard of getting something like this done. And look, I can't tell you how many times I've sat at the Reno airport and we're just about ready to take off. It happened to me 2 weeks ago, and I was an inning late to my son's baseball game, and the pilot, the wheels are going. The pilot says, "Oops, we gotta delay." There's a gate issue down there. Look, those kind of things are real, and the airport's done a very, very good job of maximizing the sort of slot times, they call it, of landing that. But this idea of a reliever airport, I think, has been going on for, I think in 2010, a congressional act got the land for it, and so but the environmentals take a long time. There's a lot of issues there. There's a lot of conservation issues around there, and I don't know that getting it done seems like a no-brainer, but if some of the things I understand about it may be much more difficult to actually bring it into reality than we think. In the meantime, I know the airport is doing a lot to really maximize, maybe build some more gates, do a lot of creative things to increase capacity, including extending runways at both of the minor airports, Henderson and North Las Vegas, to allow some of the general aviation traffic to move there. So that will be also interesting to play out. And again, one of the examples of how the county commission shapes these big, massive policy discussions in Southern Nevada.
Albert Mack, you brought him up. Amazing amount of fundraising there right off the bat, including the fact that he put up half the money himself. He's got $1 million so far.
Yeah, $1 million I saw, yep, and I think half from himself.
Yeah, and essentially no name recognition.
Well, I'll tell you what's funny. Most candidates start with no name recognition, right?
True.
There's very few elected officials really in the state of Nevada that have a high name ID out of the gate. Sometimes to all of our surprises when it happens. But when you think about a county commission race, the fact that it is a partisan race, unlike the city council races, gives you a much smaller number of voters to communicate with in a primary election. And so for what it means is that, again, any candidate running in a primary election is going to be able to go knock on doors, send mail, and communicate to people. And so generally speaking, those are going to be higher information races and higher information voters. And so really, I've seen a lot too, even not well-funded candidates can make a big impact because they can knock on so many doors, and sending a mailer costs a certain amount of money less than they'd have to do in a general election and things of that nature. I think that, I'm assuming that will be a spirited race, given that both candidates will absolutely be well-funded. Heidi Ksama is a well-known legislator with her own fundraising base. And so, we'll see how those campaigns bring themselves to the electorate.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. Many more campaigns to discuss here after this timeout.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
You're in trouble with the law. It's easy to think you'll lose everything, but there is hope. I'm attorney Orrin Johnson. Your first step is to hire a serious attorney with the experience to successfully navigate the legal system for you.
Sometimes hope means addiction treatment instead of jail, and making sure you're treated fairly.
Sometimes hope means fearless trial attorneys will stand up to the government when they get it wrong. Call or text Orrin Johnson Law.
We'll make a plan.
You'll take back your life.
This holiday season, say aloha to winning big with the Carson Valley Inn's $250,000 Hawaiian holiday giveaways. Unwrap the fun with $500 Southwest gift cards and mini vacations every Saturday. And 60 grand in grand prize Hawaiian vacations or cash. The islands are calling, only at the Carson Valley Inn.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Bradley Mayer. He is a partner with Argentum Partners. Let's hit a couple of things here. Let's start out with the film tax bill at the legislature. What did that say to you at the end of it all about the lobbying, about the legislature, about the governor? What are your thoughts?
Well, I joked around with people. I live right by the proposed site and drive by there every day to take my kids to school. So I said, man, this gonna change my commute, if this passes over here. But, I've been involved in a few of these special sessions. Most notably, we were part of the Allegiant Stadium special session in 2016. There was never a bigger no-brainer to me at that time than Allegiant Stadium. You're putting essentially $1 a night room tax on this, hotels on the Strip to build this asset to allow Las Vegas to host events that it could not possibly do otherwise. And in that time, Super Bowl, Final Four's coming, college football national titles coming, the big stadium concerts, and the like. And that is diversifying within our tourism economy and driving dollars to the rest of the state. And I think we've just seen I think it's been a success beyond what was even projected at the time. And again, it's fiscally very healthy. There's a reserve fund, things happen there with Allegiance. So even though that's the case now, and it seemed like a very big no-brainer, of course, the headline, 750 million, it being a lot of money, it still passed with literally 0 votes to spare. Like, I think it was once the last vote in the assembly, and then one more, it wouldn't have passed. So that's a long way of saying these things are hard to do. The optics are hard. And so I think in this case, this also, I guess, failed by 1 vote in that regard. I think that, the difference in this case, and even say the A Stadium, on the A Stadium, you had the tax increment financing, right? Generally. And so you're using revenue generated on the site, and you're not actually diverting money that previously would have gone to the state. I think what sort of was at odds here was this idea that, well, money's being diverted from the general fund, right? I was not involved in the bill. I had many friends who were, of course. And so as sort of a neutral observer, I kind of looked at this as the idea of like, you're buying an industry is almost how you could think of something like this, right? And we know we've always been trying to diversify our economy in Nevada, and we see now why might that be so important. Well, we had a little bit of reported tourism weakness that had been widely reported in the paper in the summer and whatnot. And it's kind of what I said earlier, is that what happens there eventually shows up with state general fund dollars, I believe. And so the way to sort of add some of these things. And so, I think that a lot of people put a lot of effort into it. I think everybody evaluated that proposal very thoughtfully. It appeared to be an extremely difficult decision, but a very deliberative process. I mean, remember, this went on for the 2023 session, into the 2025 session, and then again into the special session. And so, I think sometimes those just don't get there, but I think also different than how Allegiant was done, and the optics on Allegiant were hard too. And I think that's also true here.
Mark Wahlberg, a week and a half ago, said in the RJ that it wasn't a question of if, but when. At the same time, you've got the Warner Discovery buyout going on, where Hollywood is up in arms talking about a failing industry and their grave concerns that if Netflix were to be the winner, which, by the way, may not happen because Paramount just came in with an even bigger bid for this, but that would destroy the movie industry. Does that not give us pause to think about bringing this industry here if it's in such bad shape in its home?
Well, again, and not being on the inside of it, and so giving you this as my really opinion as an observer. I mean, content is what's really driving, as I can see, the kind of media landscape now, right? And it's kind of strange, right? I mean, as I was a kid, going to the movie theater was a whole big thing. Now it's almost like the movie gets released, and then 2 days later you can rent it for $25 on Amazon Prime, and so that has seemed to have changed. But now that everybody, we've all got a bunch of streaming services, right? I was kind of thinking about this. So do I need Netflix and uh, Paramount, or what am I going to do with these streaming services when this is done? But I do think that content continuing to be created, regardless of whether it happens in a movie theater or not, is certainly part of the future. And I'm not sure that um, this was contingent simply on that. And I do think that when we talk about diversifying within the tourism economy, part of the obvious there's such an obvious connection between Hollywood and Vegas, right? In so many ways. And so I think when you also, I heard a lot of people talking about, well, look, you've got all these big production shows on the strip. So you have all of this different talent, this different production talent that's available. And so to be able to provide another avenue for them and grow that part of it because it's already based here was sort of a natural, obvious connection between the two. I know that, and you'd probably report on this, the real point of contention, I think, was on these studies that came out on the economic analysis, right? What's
Right.
the return on investment versus not? Um, that becomes hard, right? Because when you put a Tesla Gigafactory there up in northern Nevada, you can kind of see the widgets coming off the assembly line, right? You kind of know, like, we built the building, there's people there, there's stuff coming out. I mean, you can maybe see that very clearly. And so again, not an expert on how those things come together, but I do think that certainly was a theme that I continuously heard, was sort of the cost benefit analysis, and not and several legislators in their speeches during the end of session not being able to square those two things. And we'll see if they keep coming. I don't think anything's ever done until you stop trying, right? And so
Not at our legislature. Not at our legislature.
so we'll see if it comes back around.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the heat back on today. Call us today and we'll fix it today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why freeze for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your furnace fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain. And for over 90 years, the Nevada Trucking Association has been the voice for the men and women in the trucking industry. From Carson City to Washington, D.C., we advocate for policies to protect our trucking companies and keep commerce flowing. Because Nevada's and America's prosperity is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Bradley Mayer. He's a partner with Argentum Partners. Just got a few seconds here left on this discussion. The story that broke about Aaron Ford and taking off so much time to travel around the country and the world, has that taken a bite out of his campaign, or is that just something that's going to disappear as the campaign continues on for governor?
Well, I don't know yet because, of course, it was sort of the story early before. I just think that all those type of issues play out over the course of, like, say, the campaign. So hard for me to say.
All right. Well, it's going to be a very interesting political season, and we want you to come back and help us get through it as we go through the campaign cycle. So thank you very much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Check out our archives section on NevadaNewsmakers.com. Great interviews going back as far as 2002. Really worth watching. We'll see you on the next one.